Welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton, and welcome to the live instant match reaction to Manchester City 5, Everton 0. Everton roll over and have their bellies tickled and stick to the script in the Sergio Aguero testimonial game, and finish the season with a whimper. And let's be honest, it's very fitting that we finish this season with a whimper. The second half of the season's been nothing but a disgrace, really. The first half of it was really good. We started it with a lot of promise. There was a lot of spirits were very high. We were actually second on Boxing Day, Terry. That seems a long time ago, doesn't it? So we've gone from second and we've ended up finishing 10th. My God, we have finished 10th. Carlo Ancelotti had never finished below 6th in a full season with the club. But here's Everton for you. We've let him finish down in 10th. And these players have let him down this season. And I'm not saying Carlo was exempt from criticism. He's got things wrong as well, but this is on the players. We have finished only 2 places higher, really, than we did last season. I think that's really disappointing. I mean, it's not the way we wanted to end the season, no Europe, but, fair to say it, Ped on Toffee TV, he made a good point there on Twitter. Thank God we got beat, because, Spurs won anyway. Imagine if we'd have won them, we'd have just all been even more gutted that we missed out. At least we know now for sure we did not deserve Europe this season. I'll let you speak, Terry, because I can rant for days at this rate. I'm not going to lie. It's all yours, mate.
It is what it is, isn't it? I mean, 10th place is a legacy, not of today's game, but 10th is a legacy of the 2 Newcastle games, Fulham at home, Sheffield United at home. Just the poor home defeats have been the big thing. They've come back and to bite us, and you can point to different things throughout the season. I mean, when we beat West Brom away, we were in the box seat for 4th, and Abdoulaye Doucouré got injured, and we won like 2 out of 10 until he came back. And it's been instances like that throughout the season. There's no depth in the squad. One injury does us in, because there's no like for like anywhere. We were flying at the beginning of the season, then Richarlison gets suspended, and we go on a poor run while he's out. One player out of our team, unless it was a centre back, has wrote off so many games until they were back, because there's just no depth in the squad. Look at the bench today. It's got 8 players, 2 goalkeepers. Coleman's not fit. Now, that's not to say that there's nothing more to it. There's obviously poor decisions at times from everyone, especially the manager also. But the mentality of the players is awful. Look at today. I mean, they've turned up like the entertainment to a party. The Sergio Aguero signing off party.
Yeah, there's the Sergio Aguero testimonial where they've all rolled over. Literally, Tom Davies gifted the ball to him. He's going to want to, and then the whole defence just stood off and let him tap it in.
Symptomatic. It's symptomatic of what's wrong with the squad. Like, some of the players, they've had good spells in the season, like Michael Keane and like Holgate and so on, but they just have not got it about them. They'll never be players who are better than 10th place, because they're not. It's not in them. This is like Carlo Ancelotti and Marcel Brands can both go into this summer now under no illusions about some of the players. I'm sure some of them weren't on the list to be, replaced or, on the persona non grata list, but they've moved themselves on it this last quarter of the season, because they've shown when it's something Carlo's not worked with for a long time, but they've shown in the big games some of our players just haven't got the minerals for it. And it doesn't matter if they're good sometimes or they're not bad players. Like, I don't want to be going through loads of names because we'll be here all day, but there's loads in that squad who just, when it comes down to it, when they need to stand tall, they don't. And I'm not saying we're going to get 5 or 6, 7 players in one window, but I think now Carlo and Marcel can look at that squad and go, it's not just the deadwood players we need to get rid of. We need to look at replacements for players who are starting, who just haven't got it in between their ears.
No, it's just so disappointing, really, isn't it? You think of the strength and depth has really seen us off, but there's some players who are coming into the team who just aren't good enough, isn't there? And I was saying, I mean, maybe it was a little bit knee-jerk of me to say it in the group chat right after he missed the penalty, but Sigurdsson is out of contract. Let him go. That's a statement. If we want to move forward, he's not the answer. Contract's up. Let him go. Don't be offering him a new deal. If this club wants to move forward and get the players in, because he's one of those players who you mentioned, and I think he is good enough to be a top half, sort of 10th, 11th in the league player. But to go further and get to the level we want to go to, he's not the answer. I think that's the kind of statement we need to send out.
I think that's too safe. I think that's too easy. You're saying get rid of Sigurdsson. He's on a contract. I'd go a step further. And I'd go for players who are more safe at the club. I don't even want to. As I say, I don't want to go through the players. You know who they are. Keane, Holgate, players like that. You're not going to replace them overnight, but they need to be sort of phased into a different part of the squad. They can't be starting games when everyone's fit because they're not good enough. They need to be made to work for their selection. Keane and Holgate, I'll just use them two as an example. I know I said I wasn't going to pick players, but I might as well. Those two, and it's not just them. There's more than them. But today, the two of them gave Aguero a guard of honour for that goal. Like Tom Davies makes the mistake, and the two of them just decide, right? Well, you can just might as well score, Sergio. It's your day. They're the type of players who haven't got it about them for the big game. They'll be fine in the little games when there's no pressure on, and they'll happily, they fit right in.
But they're not fine though, Terry. I'm not being funny, mate. They're not fine for the little games because they've just let Sheffield United beat us at home.
But it was a big important game. It wasn't a big important opponents, but a big important game. They haven't got it. They haven't got the stomach for it. They're fine playing for a club that finishes 10th, but we want to be more than that, and they're not good enough. So we need bigger personality players. We need winners as much as anything else. I don't mean players who are used to winning. I mean players who, the more Ben Godfrey's, players who want to fight for the shirt.
Players with stomach for it, yeah.
Players with this is what, I don't romanticize the David Moyes era, but it is something that they had more of. They didn't have it, all the time. They often lost big games and then win the next one, but they certainly had more than this team. Like big game players like Tim Cahill. Like he wasn't one of the best number 10s in Premier League history, but he turns up when the game mattered. We need more of that. There's players in this squad who've got talent, but like Gary Neville, you can hear the frustration in his voice. Doesn't even support Everton. He goes, Everton always do this. They always flatter to deceive. There's these games where they need to win and they're just abysmal when they go out onto the pitch. That's what we need to get rid of. And to be honest, Carlo was probably at some point in this season happy with 80% of this squad. I think he now knows it's 50% that's worth keeping, and the rest need to go.
Someone did say that, in fairness, finishing 10th is a disgrace for this club and for Carlo Ancelotti and the standards he sets as a manager. For me, if we maybe got 7th or 6th and got into Europe, it papered over the cracks a bit. Maybe this is needed. It's a bit of a watershed, if you like, where he realises now that he's had a full season working with this team and they haven't delivered what he's target that he set for them.
Yeah, well, he's seen both sides of things now. He said a couple of press conferences ago that we will, make the changes this summer to make ourselves a better team. He's not soft. He's seen it all and done it all. He knows what needs to be done. He's just he's got to have a look at these players and go, you know what, this is the second time at the end of a season since I've been here that these lot have just bottled it. And that's it. It's an overused expression of football, but they have bottled it. Like,
this is a team of bottlers, mate. This is a team full of bottlers. You name some names there. Keane, Holgate, they strike me as bottlers. Andre Gomez is a bottler. I mean, yeah, maybe the fans were a bit harsh on him at Barca, but he wasn't wanted at Barca for that reason. Barcelona don't suffer those kind of players. You can imagine the season Barcelona have had. They've had a poor season themselves. They'll be looking to take action about that this summer. And if we want to be a successful club, we need to take action when players fall short of the targets.
Yeah, listen, if we'd have finished 8th, if we'd have won today and finished 8th, but then still didn't get the European places, it still would have been the same as finishing 10th. It just feels it's more of a stinger because of the manner in which we've lost today. But as I say, it was tall enough order trying to beat Man City away from home on the last day of the season when they're going to be crowned champions and they're playing Champions League final next week. This was always a very, very long shot to win today. It's not. We shouldn't have been going into today, needing the points. It should have been
Should have been in the bag, yeah.
Should have beat Sheffield United. They were already relegated, and they came in and as Pickford said, they beat us on attitude. That is what I'm saying. Buy better attitudes. Don't think it's about improving quality. It's not just about improving quality. It's about improving mentality. Carlo will know when looking at this team, going, you know what? Some of these have got the ability, but they just haven't got the I keep saying it. They haven't got the minerals. They don't want to know when it's the big game, when it's the important game. They shrink into themselves. When the crowds come back into Goodison next year, yeah, we might improve the home results, but some of these players are going to get a tougher time than they used to because, Evertonians, the Goodison Park crowd, suss out players, weak-minded players very early. Like they'll you can be a hero Everton without being a particularly, skillful player. All you need to do is have commitment and passion for the shirt. I know these are cliches, but Goodison will love Ben Godfrey. Goodison does not like, Sigurdsson, Holgate, Keane, Gomez, whoever, because they just shown that they're fair weather players.
Spineless.
Yeah, exactly.
And Faz Finisher says here in the group chat, in the live chat, sorry. So the name the winners leads in the sides, none whatsoever. Having Coleman or Sigurdsson with the armband motivates no one.
To be honest, I think Coleman has got the mentality, but it's too late for him now. His
career's on the way down.
He's not got the ability anymore. I think if Carlo would have come in when he was 27, it would have been a much better. But I think Coleman can only do so much. But I think in his mind, I think he's got the mentality. He just hasn't got the ability. Sigurdsson, I mean, he's had a much better season this season than previous, but it still rubs people the wrong way that he's captain because he shrinks on the pitch. I don't know. I'm not an expert on who should be captain. There was people, and I remember on this channel I was saying no, don't hold fire. And there was people saying Holgate should be captain. How soft do they feel now? But the mentalities are different than being captains. James Rodriguez has took a kicking this week for various things, but he's got the mentality. Alan's got the mentality. Godfrey's got the mentality. I think Luca Dean's got the mentality, but there's not enough of them. There's too many players. Crumble.
Yeah, I think for me, you mentioned Luca Dean there. I think he has a really poor season myself. I think certainly after his injury, I don't think he's been good enough.
Yeah, he's got high standards to set. I wouldn't particularly point him out as one of the problems. I think.
He's far from one of the main problems, but I think he certainly fell below his levels, and also Richarlison in the same sort of context. He still contributed, but not as much as we know they can.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree about Richarlison. Hopefully he's better next season with the crowd back, but he's had a poor season. I mean, him last summer saying I'm going to give Everton one more year to the Portuguese press or whoever he said it to, like, mate, where you going, Palace? Like, you're not getting into Barcelona's team even now, or whoever. It's like, so I think a lot of these players need to walk the walk because they're not as good as so
many of these players love this, don't they? Like giving it the big into the media, and they never seem to deliver anyway. So I don't know where they get this ego from. I
know. Some of them haven't done it. I haven't done a thing in football, but they've got the mentality like they're stars. It's like there's only a couple of players this year. I mean, people at the club this year who can say they've had a good season. A few and far between. It looked like they were going to have a great season, but it's just tailed off so badly. Dominic Calvert-Lewin has got his detractors. I think he can say he's had a good season. He's done as much as he was capable of, despite having spells of time where he didn't score, but wasn't always down to him.
16 Premier League goals is nothing to be sniffed at.
No, I think he can hold his head up high. I think Godfrey can. I think Pickford can now. I'm surprised I'm saying that after this first half of the season. I think Carlo can. I don't think for 1 second Carlo's had a bad season. I think the players have let him down. I think...
Yeah, definitely.
Honestly, I think any other manager this season, they all wouldn't have had the home crowds either. and they wouldn't have got as many
We
away
could
points.
we could have been in a relegation battle with a worse manager.
We would have been, I don't know about relegation battle, but we would have been worse off without him. Like everyone, people are starting to get on the oh, Carlo this, Carlo that. That's your opinion. You're entitled to it. I don't know any more than anyone else, but I'm of the opinion that we'd have been worse off without him. I think he's got us in the mix in the last day. I think any other manager we would have been 13th, 14th, because these players just, I'm sorry, you're not good enough. He's got us through so many away games, and I don't think any other manager would have done better in the home games because the players didn't seem to have it in them to take it to teams who were setting up to defend.
It's just it's such a disappointment thing for me. The big disappointment is, I think, whenever I look at that league table on Boxing Day and see that we were second, we finished 10th this season, which is disappointing anyway. But we've never been that low in the table all season. I don't think. I think the lowest we've been was maybe 10th or 11th at one stage, but
yeah, we've been no lower than 8th, I don't think, all season, and we finished 10th, about 3 points off 7th, and as a Quaker goal difference. But people are going, oh, we're on -1 goal difference, and we're on 10th. That doesn't bother me really. It's like 10th, 8th. In the grand scheme of things, it makes no difference. Like you said, finishing 8th and having a little bit more, less, bitter medicine to swallow. It would have papered over some cracks. It would have made us look better than we actually are. I think now there's no hiding from the fact that we need some major surgery in the summer. And someone said to me on Twitter, and they're right, saying, "Well, we say this every summer, yeah, but it's true every summer." And we get the.
we never get it right though. I mean, we got it a bit better last summer. We got it last summer. We got it kind of right, but before that, we've been getting it wrong every summer.
Yeah, we got it right last summer. And I think if we hadn't have made Jesus, imagine how bad we'd have been if we hadn't have made those signings. No Godfrey, no Zakore, no Allen. We might have got relegated then. But we say it every summer, and it doesn't mean that we're just getting it wrong when we are doing it. So last season, I think we had a good summer. We need that again or more this summer. We need 3 or 4 players, who go into the first team, knock some of the first teamers now onto the bench, and then really have some depth. And then when you have these spells in the season where you get injuries, you don't just fall off a cliff form-wise.
I think I said this on a show. It might have been either you or your Paul, and I remember saying, when we make signings this summer, every signing has to be a first team player. It needs to be a player, and if that means pushing some of our decent enough first team players to the bench, then so be it. We need competition for places, and we need first team quality players coming in, and we need 4 or 5 of them this summer at least.
Yeah, it's not a whole squad overhaul, but we need about 4, 5 in and 4 or 5 out, and it needs to be we need
the right players in and the right players out.
Yeah, we can't afford any misses anymore. They've got to be hits, all the players. And it's not to say, you put 5 new players in the team on the first day of next season, but you need to put better strength in the squad, especially in attacking areas, because defensively, I think as a unit, we've been all right this season, but at the sacrifice of some of the attack and play, I think we need 2 new players down the right. We need a new midfield and another striker to compete. We need these players to come in and be good players. We can't have any more, Bernards or Andre Gomez's or players like that who look all right at first, and then all of a sudden you're trying to get rid of them. We've wasted.
We've had so many of those.
We've not got the luxury anymore of buying players who don't work out, and we've got to move on. We need them to come in and be good players. We've wasted we've played all our duds now. We've got no more of them to play. They all need to be successes now whenever they come in, and that's the challenge for Marcel Brands and Carlo, especially Marcel Brands, because he's not guilt-free either. He's brought in some duds in his time, and all right, it's not
Gomez and Bernards was on his watch.
Can't blame him for Gomez. We always went berserk if we didn't get Gomez, but there's others as well, and not just him. There's players who've come in who've just been awful. Like Alex Iwobi, apparently rumour has it that it wasn't exactly Marcel Brands' idea to bring him in, but Iwobi, Moise Keane, players who've come in and not hit it off. We need no more of them. I keep saying it. We need more Godfreys in different positions. We need a Godfrey for right back, a Godfrey for right midfield, a Godfrey, like a young player with the energy
Hungry.
and desire.
Got to be hungry.
Yeah, we need that profile
Too many of
with
these
the
players
energy.
aren't hungry. Too many of these players aren't hungry.
Yeah, yeah, and
Andre
it's
Gomez.
ironic.
Andre Gomez isn't hungry. Iwobi's not hungry. Bernard isn't.
It, and frankly, I think the desire, I agree with Calvert-Lewin. I think the apparatus at the club is in place to be a top team. I just think it's the playing side now we need to get right. I think we've got a good director of football, although, you can never say, completely one way or the other how good he is because you don't know his full job. But I think we've got a good one. I know we've got a great manager. And we've got a very, very generous owner who's willing to back us with more money and to hell to the rules by the sounds of it. So it's all there. We just need to get better players on the pitch now that we've got the right people in place in the management side of things, at least.
Someone made a point, and I know Twitter's a bit of an echo chamber, and when we're not doing well, it's a bit negative. But someone made a point: is Ancelotti going to be able to attract the players? I think he used his own pulling power to bring in the likes of Alan and Rodriguez last summer when we finished 12th. After a full season and finishing 10th, there's a lot of people saying that maybe he might struggle to attract the players we need after a full season and finishing 10th. Is it really enough progress?
I don't think that's a factor. I don't think we're going to be going for players like Allen and James Rodriguez. We don't. If you've got a team full of young players on the up, you can have a few older heads to sort of complement them. I don't think we need any more players that Ancelotti attracts. I think we need like Diaby, at Leverkusen, Leon Bailey. These are players who will come to Everton anyway if the money is right and the pathway is right. If you say to them, we need you to we want you to come to the Premier League, try and get us into Europe. And if we're not in Europe, if we're not in the Champions League in 2 or 3 years, then we'll sell you to a Champions League club and reinvest the money. That's the way Leicester have done it. It's the way we need to do it. It was, I don't think the pulling power is particularly an issue for any team in this league now. As long as you're not going to get relegated, you will attract good players into the league because there's more money here and more prestige here than anywhere else. So I don't think we should be looking at Juventus or Real Madrid or Barcelona for players who aren't good enough for them anymore. I think we've made some good signings from the likes of them, Mina and Dean, for example. But I don't want to be personally looking at the likes of Rabiot or players like that who are taking a step.
No.
I don't care how good they are. I don't want players taking a step down from an elite club to come to Everton. I want players making a step up and wanting to make themselves elite players at Everton.
Yeah, that's exactly what we need. Players with that desire, and I want to see players who come in and treat playing for Everton as the privilege that it is.
Yeah,
because there's too many of the players here now who don't.
Yeah, I mean, I think the positions we need it in is clear for everyone. I think even a baby could point out where we need position strengthening, and I think we need to have aspirational players who want to make that step up. And Everton is a good pathway into different things. Look at Richarlison; he'd never been capped by Brazil before he came to Everton. Comes to Everton and bang, he's a Brazil international now, regular in every squad. I think Godfrey's going to go the same way with England. This summer might come a little bit too soon for him, but I think next summer he'll start getting brought into the England squad. That Calvert-Lewin's the same. He's in the England squad now. I think if you're a young player who's got the ability, I think they'll look at Everton and go, that is a good step for me. I will either go there and develop into an international and become a player and I'll get them into Europe. Or if I don't get them in Europe and I'm good enough, they will sell me to a European team like with Lukaku and so on. We need to embrace that and attract these upwardly mobile players, and they can make the club upwardly mobile.
Well, to be fair, Lukaku was one of them himself when he came here.
Yeah, we need more of that. I don't, just to go back to your earlier point, I don't think we need Ancelotti to attract players now. I think he's done that. I don't think that's the trick he'll play twice. I mean, I hope not, because if we start trying to get Coutinho's and players like that, I think
that's never the answer. That is never the answer to what we need.
Out, but it's like putting, it's like getting your garden done when you've got no roof. You need to prioritize the positions that you're weak in.
Definitely, I'm just hoping we get the right players in this summer, because if we don't, next season will be even worse. And I'm pig sick. I'll be honest with you, I'm sick to the back teeth of season after season. Us just going, oh well, next summer's going to be a big summer, and then it's just another disappointing season. This is a disappointing season. I know we might have improved a bit from last year, but it's still a massive disappointment of a season, especially from where it could have been about 2 or 3 months ago.
It's been a disappointment where we finished. I know people are kicking lumps out of this statement on Twitter, but there has been some progress made. Not enough by any means, but there's been some progress made. There's been some hoodoos, banished, and that could stand us in good stead. But honestly, the way I look at it, I might be I might be in the minority, but it's not a real season. We won 11 away games and 6 home games. When does that ever happen? There's been no supporters in. This is not a real season. To judge any manager on a season like this is not, it's not for me. And some players, I think, not just at Everton, I think a lot of players who have done well this season are going to get found out next season, because I think some players are naturally going to be better in the training grounds environment, where it's just like, playing matches in silence. And I think we're going to see a much different season next season, and hopefully we take advantage of that, because we've wasted a bit of an opportunity this year.
That's an understatement, mate. I mean, to go from, we were well in the top 4 race just 3 months ago to end up 10th is a real disappointment. And, your Paul actually made a brilliant point. He tweeted before, we need to hear from Ancelotti post-match, something that will make us angry. And, something that suggests that he is angry and make us still believe in his project, because he says if Ancelotti just shrugged it off and says, oh, we'll just build in the summer, then I don't think that's enough. I think fans are too disappointed to accept that. I think we need to see wholesale changes, and the big disappointments in the squad need to be bombed out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think for 1 second he's going to come out of this and just throw his hands in the air. I think he's going to be... You saw him after the Sheffield United game. I don't think he gets any more angry than that. I think he's probably still angry. And he knows this group of players has let me down badly here. Because he's going to come in for some unnecessary stick now. I don't mean he shouldn't get any stick. I'm saying he shouldn't get unwarranted, unnecessary stick, which I believe he's going to get a lot of. Because there's going to be idiots all over the press now. And Richard Keys is one of them. Going to be
the state of him.
Yeah, but there'll be more than him. It'll be loads of idiots banging the drum in the media now, as if Carlo Ancelotti is a problem at Everton when he's the solution. They're going to point out, well, he only finished 10th. It's like, yeah, that's as black and white as it is. It's nothing to do with the players or anything like that.
Interestingly enough, this is a very interesting point. As disappointing as finishing 10th is, we've actually got the highest point tally for a team finishing 10th in Premier League history, and by a good way as well. 59 points is normally enough for a 7th. We finished 8th under Allardyce with 47 points. Richie Keane, Desi, mate Allardyce. He got us 8th with 47 points. Ancelotti's finished lower, but he's got 12 more points on the board.
I'm sure we didn't we finish 4th on 63 or 62?
61 under Moyes, we got 4th.
We're on 59 now. I'm not saying it's been a good season, but I'm just not having some of these bad faith actors who are going to pretend that Carlo's the problem and he needs replacing and things will all be all right. Going, no, we'll be worse, much worse without him. I'm embarrassed on our behalf that we've let him down this badly as a club. He's inherited a much more difficult job here than I think he realised, but I think he's bang up to it. I'm not saying he's, faultless or he hasn't had games where he's made wrong decisions, and there's some people going, oh, there's no identity and all that. Well, Roberto Martinez has a nailed-in identity and he had no flexibility and he didn't change for any game. We've been successful this year by changing depending on the opposition we're playing. So for me, it is just a matter of giving him better tools to work with, because how much can he do when he's bringing Bernard and Iwobi off the bench, who are a pair of wastes of space who can't affect a game?
Really, honestly, what is all about? They're the players I want to see gone. Bernard, Iwobi, Gomez, Sigurdsson, let his contract run down. it's one of them. I think Sigurdsson's got a bit more to offer than some of them, but even then, not enough. Get rid. A couple of other players, if we can get money for them, sell. They're the four main ones, though. They're the real drains on the wage bill for me that we need to get rid of. And then bring 4 or 5 quality players in their place.
It's for me. We'll make it sound dead easier. There's not going to be many people taking these players, but that's the challenge. You've got to go in and go, right, well, when they've had a break and they come back and they unpack what's happened this season, they'll go, well, we were great when we set up defensively. We were great when we were away from home. There was times where just a little bit of quality going forwards and made the difference. So I think that's what they'll do. They'll go, right, well, I don't think there's much needed defensively, but we do need to get some actual clinical players and fast players in the attacking areas, because the amount of games where we lost by 1 goal, where if we'd have had some just some pace in the team, we could have got a couple of goals. It's it is a broken record to say we need to make some big moves in the summer, but we're right every time. It's just that we're not doing it right each time we come to do it. But I've got more faith now than I've ever had before that we've got the right man in to make the changes that are needed to fix the problems. It's just not an overnight job. He's not going to turn things around in one season.
Yeah, I think a lot of fans have been concerned in the last couple of weeks that Ancelotti doesn't really know what he's doing here. Is that the case, or is he just running out of ideas with this group of players?
He knows what he's doing. He can't. Carlo Ancelotti cannot make a slow player fast. He can't make a short play at all. There just comes a point where he's got no pace and he's got no width, and he's like what, and so he can't make a fast wide team. What he has got is a good defensive team. Until today, we hadn't conceded a lot of goals in a single match any time, even when we've lost. But he's making the best of the players he's got. Now, all right, they've let him down in some games, but he's won us more points than he's lost us by a long way. So Ancelotti is the furthest for me. If you don't agree with me, that's fine. I'm not going to, we're all just fans. We don't know any more than each other. But for me, he is the best thing at the club, and we need to back him
by a mile.
We need to back him. We need to say, right, we know a lot of these players are absolutely shite. Forget the rules. Who would you want to bring in? Who would improve us? Where do we need to spend money? Because we've wasted millions to be this shit anyway. Might as well spend some more to improve it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Everyone's like, "Oh, don't break FFP. We'll get banned from Europe." And why? Well, why not? If we break FFP and get banned from Europe, we're still not in Europe. Just like we're not in Europe while we're playing crap football and finishing 10th.
It can't go on like this. We can't. I don't mean we can't go on finishing 10th, but we can't go on making do with players who just haven't got anything about them. If we get punished, we get punished. And just take the medicine, because right now I'm more interested in I'm having a cure with side effects than I am having the disease.
Fair play, yeah. Sounds no, exactly. That's a good way of putting it. That. So yeah, everyone out there get vaccinated.
Everton needs a vaccine.
Yeah, we need we need a vaccine passport. Inky Squid, nice one in the chat here. Smash the like button, guys, or Delph will become our next manager. Just in case everyone wasn't feeling miserable enough. Thanks for that one, Inky. Definitely get that like button smashed there, and if there's ever been a bigger incentive.
Not like him to not rule himself fit for a City game, is it? He must actually be doing that. Right?
No, he's in the alehouse waiting for them to all come in with a trophy later.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, it's really disappointing, really. We've not really spoken much about the game, but there's not much I can really remember about that game apart from City putting 5 past us. And it's one of them in terms of the actual. It's easy to look back at the season, and there has been positives, hasn't there? We've won at Anfield, won at Arsenal, won at other places, Spurs, for instance. But some really good results. But it's just a disappointing season as a whole. And regardless of it is improvement. We've improved, but it just wasn't enough of an improvement. And maybe it's again incremental. If Ancelotti can repeat this again, maybe we could be in Europe next season. And I think that's what needs to be the case. We need to get into Europe next season, that's for sure. You know.
Yeah, and the rest. Like
And if we don't, it's a failure. It's a major failure.
Yeah, that's just a given. But you've got to remember, funny how things work. In Moyes' second full season, we finished 17th and lost to Man City 5-0 on the final day of the season. But
I
this
was
was
thinking
over.
that.
And then the season after, we finished 4th. So let's just do that again. Simple as
Sounds,
that.
yeah, after that. So, who's our best player? Sell him on deadline day and we'll be laughing then.
Yeah. Don't want to do that, like,
but honestly, I mean, I'm confident we'll improve again next season. But what I fear is, I think we are improving, but are we improving enough? I think other teams have improved more than we have in the same time period. You've seen the likes of West Ham finishing above us this season. That's another thing. If you're on about like Richie Keys banging the drum against Ancelotti, what I think Mark Hogton's thinking right now, with West Ham finishing 4 places above us.
He's had it sweet in his drafts for weeks, then. But I still even with what's happened, I wouldn't go back and change it. I don't think Moyes would have got
No.
Europe if he'd have come here, and I don't think Ancelotti would have got him. Actually, tell a lie. I think Ancelotti would have got West Ham into Europe, but Moyes wouldn't have got us into Europe. So what's that tell you? It's the mentality of the players rather than the manager. Because I'm not having anyone tell me that David Moyes is a better manager than Carlo Ancelotti. Not on your life.
No, not at all. But I can tell you, there's going to be some very smug journalists in some scummy papers in the next couple of days.
Okay.
But it's going to be a really tough summer because you know that these newspapers will stick the knife in with our best players wanting to leave and all that this summer.
So what else is new? Let them do it. Not bothered.
But with that in mind, the sides we've left finish above us here: West Ham, Leeds, Arsenal, Spurs, who both had wretched seasons. Arsenal and Leeds were 14th and 15th respectively, while we sat second on Boxing Day. That tells you how bad we've been the second half of this season. How on earth have we let that happen?
I know, no getting around it. It is what it is. Like you can context it all you want. Well, it's goal difference, so we're 3 points off this, 3 points off that. History won't record that. History will just say 10th, and they were 9th, and they were 8th. So, but at the end of the day, it's gone now. We're right now, as of an hour ago or whatever it was, we're all back on 0 points now.
Yeah, fair play. So we go again, or in Mason Holgate's case, go and then turn back and pass it back to Pickford. But yeah, it's one of them. It's just really disappointing, and I was prepared for the disappointment of not getting into Europe for a couple. I didn't for the life of me think we'd end up 10th. I just think it's just like, I know it doesn't really mean anything, but it's just so embarrassing when you consider how at one point I thought like 7th was like the worst we could manage.
Yeah, and I know I can't add to that. Like I thought at one point 7th was the least. Like we were going for 4th, and you weren't going to go any lower than 7th. But we've done it to ourselves. No one did it to us. We lost games we should have won, and that's the top bottom of it. Like it's
so with that in mind, then
the table doesn't lie. You are where you are based on merit. This season, it feels like it is lying in some instances because you think, how are they better than us? And how are they worse than us? And so on and so forth. But it's the COVID season. It's the no fans season. So hopefully in like years because of COVID, we'll just go, yeah, that one didn't count.
We better for
anyway. If we get better,
can we just pretend the first half of the season counts and the other bit doesn't? I'll have that. But yeah,
Liverpool was won the league.
Oh god, yeah. But either way,
they were top of Christmas.
But never mind. But yeah, with that in mind, like you say, like we've brought this upon ourselves. How do we ensure that we don't bring this upon ourselves next season? We spoke about recruitment. What else needs to change?
I don't know. Recruitment. For me, it begins and ends with the recruitment. The lads on Toffee TV have said themselves, so I'm going to nick their shouts. I'm sorry, but the answers are not currently in Finch Farm. we need new players, and I know it's everyone says this, and we've said it a million times, but we need new and better players to make us a newer and better team. I think we know who needs to go, and I think we know where we need to recruit, and it's as simple as that. I think the other things are in place. I think we've got a top manager. I personally think we've got a good director of football, and as far as you can know, and I think we've got a owner who is, very committed to investing in the team and wants the team to get better. It's not always made the right decisions, but it's never too late to start making them. So I think a lot of the stuff's in place. I just think the stuff on the pitch is not quite in place yet. And that's all you've got. That's the only way you'll fix this, by getting better players and building a better team that way.
Yeah, Toffee Blues, John. Take me back to the spirit of the Blues times at the start of the season. It's fitting, really, that was the sort of song that we used around the time, because the second half of the season, there's been no spirit at all. It's mad, isn't it?
I know.
But it's a good way of thinking of it there, because that is exactly what we need. The players we bring in now need to have spirit. They
need to have resilience. Like, we need
fighting
players.
Spirit.
We need players who don't go to pot when things go against them, like a lot of these do. We've got some good players, but with some weak mentalities. I've always thought it. Michael Keane is the perfect example. I think he's a very good defender, but he's got no stomach. He goes to bits when it goes against him. And that's just what I think of him. I think he's fine to have in the squad, but he can't be one of your centre backs you build around. If we were to bring in, for example, another a top centre back to go with Godfrey or Mina, then Michael Keane could come in and out of as the season goes on. But you don't want to be relying on him as one of your first choices, which he has been this season. And I think that applies in a lot of different positions. They need players with a better mentality and a better mental toughness.
I would definitely agree with that, and I'd agree with that, like you say, across the team. I would like to see even decent players in this team, like Doucouré, and the more respectable members of the side, even James. I'd like to see them pushed down to the bench if it means we can get a better caliber of player in, and to get that competition in the team.
Yeah. There's very few safe players in this team for me. I don't think we'd get a better left back than Luca Dean. I think we'd struggle to get a better sort of second centre back than Godfrey. I think if a new centre back was to come in, then Godfrey would be the one to partner him. I don't think it's worth getting someone to go alongside Keane. You know what I mean? So I think Dean, Godfrey, Calvert-Lewin. I don't think we'd get a better striker than him in the position we're in. So someone who scores more than 16 goals a season is not going to go to a team who finished 10th, let's be honest. And I think that's it. I think Richarlison can be replaced. I think James is by far our best player, but he's injury prone. So we're not going to get a more skillful
you need backup.
Yeah, so I think Dean and Calvert-Lewin and possibly Godfrey are the only players who were unlikely to be able to improve upon. Now, there's other players who aren't, high on the replace list, but none of them are irreplaceable. If a top centre back comes available, get him. Just say sorry, whoever else is there, get him. If a top box to box midfielder becomes available, number 6, Alan or Doucouré, you've been all right this season. You've been certainly better than what we had before, but you're not irreplaceable. These are just the blueprints of what we need. Anyone in this
having an Alan or a Doucouré to call on from the bench is great. We need that. We need something who can sit on the bench and, we call upon them, they come on, they actually make an impact, because Bernard and Iwobi don't.
Yeah. It's all it is. It's like we've got 11 players who've got us to 10th, and that's the top and bottom of it. We need to get better first team players, and then those players who got us to 10th can be pushed to the bench. If you get a good right back, then Coleman's on your bench every week. If you get a new winger, then maybe Richarlison's on your bench sometimes. And even though you think he's one of your better players, hasn't shown it this year, has he?
I'm not so. I think we need 2 new wings, one to drop Richarlison and one to actually come in the team, because we haven't got anyone else. Rodriguez is better through the middle, personally.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's all it is. You just need to buy better first team players and the ones who've been getting us through and only managed 10th this season, they can go to the bench and just be, squad players or, depth. Because there is going to be a place for a lot of them throughout the season. And the ones who are on the bench now, all of them can go. They're not the ones to fall, because I'm not even moaning at the likes of them now because they're not playing. They're not the ones responsible. But if they can't get in a team or improve a team that finished 10th, then what are they doing here?
Exactly. Okay, so Carlo Ancelotti has said that Everton will go into the summer with a clear idea of the players they want to sign to improve the squad.
Yeah, there can be no confusion. You're not going to go into this season, into the summer, and go, right, well, we need a new number 9. Calvert-Lewin's not good enough. You're going to go in and go, we're too slow. We've got no right-hand side, and we need energy in the centre of midfield. That's the clear idea. Doesn't take a multi-time Champions League winning manager to know that.
Yeah, that's definitely what it's got to be now, hasn't it? Moving forwards, I reckon we need about 6 or 7 coming in.
See, now I don't agree with that because I don't think that ever works. I think we need 3 or 4, and you think, well, that's not enough, but it is in a way, because 3 or 4 quality additions can improve some of the players you've got. Like, I've slated Holgate and Keane this on this stream, but if you get in top players, they could suddenly become better. Like, other players improve with better players. I'm not saying you'll suddenly make Holgate a well-beaten centre-back, but if you had Ruben Diaz or Van Dijk next to Holgate, he would improve a lot as a player. You look at our midfield, if you've got, say, Andre Gomez and he's poor, then you put Bruno Fernandes next to him and suddenly he could be a better player. You can improve. The middling players that you've got can improve when elite players are around them. It's the ones who can't improve, the ones like Iwobi, like Bernard, probably Andre Gomez, he was probably a bad example. But those players, they are just persona non grata. They can't stay because they're not going to get any better. But some of the ones who aren't good enough, or some of the ones who are only good enough to get us 10th, I don't think we need 6 or 7 players. I think we need 3 or 4 top players, and they will improve some of the players we've got now.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that, to be honest. Maybe I'm getting a bit dramatic, but definitely we need someone who's going to raise the standards, is the best way of putting it. That's what it is. The standards at the club are too low.
Yeah,
Carlo Ancelotti set the standards, but the players aren't meeting them.
Put it this way, how much better the season, and then not to say they've been amazing, but how much improvements has there been from Tom Davies when he was playing games with Takore, compared to playing games alongside Sigurdsson sitting at defensive midfield? You can improve players, because Davies got a lot better this season when he had a run of games, because he got dropped inexplicably. I don't know why, but he has a run of games. When he was playing alongside better midfielders, he was a better player. How much better is Dominic Calvert-Lewin with James Rodriguez in the side? When he wasn't in the side, he had no chances. But suddenly, when he was playing at the beginning of the season, James was creating chances left, right, and centre for him, and he was a goal machine. You can improve players. 2 seasons ago, Calvert-Lewin and Tom Davies were 2 wastes of space who no one wanted to see. I didn't agree, but a lot of people did, especially on Calvert-Lewin. And now you think, bloody hell, imagine we'd have got rid of him and he'd have gone on to do this in a team with more creativity. It's the same thing. If you get better players, you will improve the other players who look useless now. Well, not the useless ones, but the ones who look middling now.
But there are genuinely useless ones. I think there's a few of them.
Definitely. You could put Messi in and you'll never make Iwobi look good. Like, I'm not saying that. But I'm saying there are some players who've not performed well enough this season, or are literally playing at their level, and we finished 10th. But you can make more out of them if you get better players in and around them. But there are some lost causes, and literally every bench we've had this season's practically it. We've got about 12 outfield players, and that's it. 12, 13 at the most, and then after that. And by the way, the 12 or 13 are only good enough to get us 10th, so it's not like all of them are quality either, but everyone else is even worse.
Yeah, so we could go on like a broken record here, but that is basically it. We just need better players. I mean, you could have said that in one sentence rather than the whole stream, but that's kind of what we're getting as. That we just need. There's plenty of room for improvement. Put it that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll call it a day here. I think we'll call it a season. Disappointing season. I mean, when isn't it? When you're supporting Everton, let's be honest. But we'll wrap it up anyway. Not how we wanted to finish the season, but thank you guys for tuning into these streams all the way through the season, and hopefully be back soon with more of these. And obviously fans back in the stadium next season, so hopefully we'll be speaking to a lot of yous after the game as well, which would be great. Hopefully roll on next season, hopefully a much better season. It's got to be. Fingers crossed. Thank you guys for tuning in on the Toffee Blues, and we'll see you next time.